come to this now. In our little book corner this morning, we travel back to the 1800s in KwaZulu-Natal. We're looking at the Zulu kingdom and the Boer invasion of 1837 to 1840 by historian and author John Leband. Well, he looks at invasion of the Zulu kingdom in 1837 by land-hungry Boers who were fleeing the British-ruled Cape. And he joins us now to give us, of course, a view of the book, The Boer Invasion of the Zulu Kingdom, 1837 to 1840. John, thank you so much for your time and good morning to you. So this is definitely the book that one needs to have to get a sense of history and the way that you have documented, narrated. I have to say, I love the picture at the bottom of the book there on the front cover. But I mean, as a historian, as a researcher of, the Zulu Kingdom, the war, particularly on the Boer invasion, what have you found and what have you documented in this book?
Morning, Dumela. Thanks for having me. I've always felt that the Boer invasion of the Zulu kingdom, and here indeed is a problem. Do we call it an invasion? What do we call it? Their advance into the interior has always been, in fact, something that has been seen primarily from the Boer side. We seldom look at it from how the Zulu reacted, how they saw this intrusion of people coming to settle on their land, and the decisions they took in actually attempting to repel this mass land invasion, if you like, to use a modern phrase.
And how would you describe both the victory and the defeat, I suppose, that have, sort of marked the significance of this war?
Well, it's still, in fact, it's become really an iconic thing, this war. I mean, in many ways, for the Boers, it was proof of God's support of their endeavors. It showed that God was on their side, the way they'd been able to defeat and overcome this kingdom. On the other hand, from the Zulu point of view, this was one of their great struggles against imperialism, against colonial the colonial advance, and it's really seen as one of the first great freedom struggles, if you like. So there are two perspectives very much in conflict here, which indeed still persists to this day. I mean, we have the two monuments of Blood River, the Boer one and the Zulu one. They still sit opposite each other across the river. They're still in conflict. They're still in opposition to each other.
Yeah. You also narrate, which I find particularly interesting here, John, you narrate the political motivation, the strategic military objectives of the Zulu perspective in this war. Why was it so important for you to give this side of history, and what was that political motivation for the Zulu kingdom?
Yes, well, I mean, it's always seen as I say, the Boer invasion and the successful takeover of their land, but from the Zulu perspective, and I'm thinking here especially of King Dingane, how do you deal with this mass intrusion? And here are people who come heavily armed. The Zulu had a few firearms, but nothing like the Boers. They had seen the success of the Boers on the Highveld, defeating the Ndebele and Zilikazi. They knew that this was, if you like, an existential threat. And so how do you deal with it? And one way, in fact, and here we come to the great controversial issue, which is the killing of Piet Retief and his followers at Mgunguklovo. That, I mean, how do you deal with people who seem to have such a huge military advantage? And one way, of course, was simply to nip it in the bud and actually kill these people who seem to have their eyes set on destroying your kingdom. So from that perspective, we can understand Zulu motivation.
And would you say Africans celebrate this war as more of a fight, a struggle against colonial aggression, perhaps one of the most significant fight against that colonial aggression?
That's certainly one perspective, though it's been a more, if you like, conservative Zulu one, to look at Dingane as the man who got this all wrong and led to the destruction of the kingdom his brother Shaka had actually created. Shaka is a great hero for many Zulu, and Dingane is the guy who got it wrong. On the other hand, others look at him as a ruler who did his best in difficult circumstances to protect his kingdom and protect his people and their land. So it is very much a matter of perspective, even from the African side.
Well, you know, John, I would encourage anyone to get a hold of the book and read on these two perspectives. The Boer invasion of the Zulu kingdom. Thank you so much, John, for speaking to me this morning and taking it upon yourself to document history. A historian and author of the Boer invasion of the Zulu kingdom, John Leband, joining me this morning. Quite an insightful read. And John dedicated much of his life and career, obviously, towards the history of the Zulu kingdom and in the colonial wars in Africa. That's what he specialized in, but also a professor emeritus of history at Wilfrid Laurier University of Canada, research associate at Stellenbosch University. Thank you so much for your time, John.